Did you know that more than 60% of drivers in the US keep driving even after the dreaded check engine light comes on? And nearly half of them end up paying for major repairs, or worse, dealing with a breakdown on the highway. Now picture this. You're cruising down the road, music on, everything feels normal, until suddenly a light pops up on your dashboard. Maybe it's the brake light, maybe it's the ABS, or maybe it's that little orange check engine icon you hoped you'd never see. And what do most drivers do? They think it's probably nothing. The car still runs, so they keep driving. But that tiny light is often your car's first cry for help, a silent warning that something bigger is coming. And if you ignore it, what started as a small issue could cost you thousands of dollars, or even put your safety and your family's safety at risk. In this video, we're breaking down the 6 most common warning signs every driver in America needs to know. By the end, you'll never look at your dashboard the same way again. Chapter 1. Dashboard warning lights and the ECU. The warning lights on your dashboard aren't just there for decoration, they're your car's language. It's how it tells you something isn't right. Some of the most common? The ABS light, the brake warning light, and of course the dreaded check engine. Sometimes it's just a small orange light that looks harmless, until it isn't. Now, here's the big mistake. A lot of drivers, or even some mechanics, just plug in a scanner, clear the codes, and think the problem's gone. But that doesn't fix anything. It's like turning off a fire alarm without putting out the fire. The danger is still there. The ECU, your car's engine control unit, is constantly monitoring sensors. The moment it picks up a reading that's out of range, or a signal that cuts out, it throws a warning light. That's your car saying, "Hey, something's wrong." Ignore it long enough, and the car will often go into what's called limp mode, basically self-protection mode. Suddenly, you've got sluggish acceleration, poor fuel economy, or your car won't go over 40 miles per hour. And yes, this happens all the time with brands like Volkswagen, Nissan, Hyundai, even Ford and GM. Real story. A Nissan driver ignored his check engine light for months. The car ran, but it was burning more gas. One day, on the freeway, the engine lost power and died completely. The cause? A failed oxygen sensor that eventually destroyed the catalytic converter. What could have been a $50 repair turned into a $1,000 nightmare. Another case, a Hyundai Tucson owner thought clearing the code would solve the issue. The light came back after a few days. Weeks later, the car went into limp mode and barely hit 40 miles per hour on the highway. The actual problem? A clogged EGR valve. Clearing the code did nothing but buy a false sense of security. The truth is simple. If your car lights up a warning, it's talking to you. Don't just silence it. Find out what it's saying. Chapter 2. Starting issues and the battery. Picture this. You disconnect your car battery for a quick repair. You hook it back up, and suddenly the car won't start. Not even a click. What just happened? Here's the thing. Modern cars rely heavily on constant voltage. The moment you disconnect the battery, every onboard computer resets. Some will relearn automatically, others, not so much. And that's when the headaches begin. We've seen it in Toyotas, Honda CR-Vs, Ford Rangers, Chevy Silverados, even luxury brands like Mercedes. After a battery swap, some owners find their anti-theft system locks up and prevents the car from starting. In other cases, the ECU simply loses key parameters and needs to be reprogrammed. So, what's the golden rule? If you're disconnecting your battery, always remove the negative cable first. And if you plan to leave it disconnected for a while, use a memory saver or a small backup power source to preserve your car's data. Otherwise, you risk wiping out vital settings. And let's be clear, it's not always the battery. Sometimes a car that stalls while driving is actually dealing with a bad alternator, a failing crankshaft position sensor, or even a loose ground connection. But if it happens on the freeway, it can turn dangerous real fast. Real-world case. Plenty of Silverado and F-150 owners reported their trucks shutting off out of nowhere after a battery replacement. Why? Their systems needed reprogramming with a proper scan tool. Without it, the trucks simply refused to run right. The bottom line, your battery isn't just a box of power. It's the beating heart of your car's electronics. Treat it wrong, and you could end up stranded. Chapter 3. Acceleration and rough idle. Few things are scarier than feeling your car rev up on its own. You're at a stoplight, foot off the pedal, and suddenly the RPMs climb like the car has a mind of its own. It's unsettling, dangerous, and completely unpredictable. Cases like the GMC Terrain and Jeep Cherokee have shown this problem. But it's not always the engine itself. The culprit is often the throttle body. This component controls how much air enters your engine depending on your gas pedal input. When it's dirty, misaligned, or failing, the car can surge forward, stall when slowing down, or lurch with sudden jerks. The worst part? A cheap code scanner often shows nothing, leaving drivers and even some mechanics scratching their heads. Popular models like the Nissan Altima, Toyota Corolla, or Chevy Malibu have all been reported with throttle body issues that cause erratic acceleration. Sometimes the car loses power, other times it revs like crazy. And unless the throttle body is properly cleaned and recalibrated, the problem just keeps coming back. Another common cause of jerks and hesitation is a bad air-fuel mix. Faulty sensors, vacuum leaks, or a glitchy ECU can all confuse the system. Ever notice your car struggling up a hill, or that slow, lazy response when you hit the gas? That's often the ECU protecting the engine, or a stuck throttle plate holding you back. Real example, a Toyota Corolla owner reported rough idling and jerking every morning when cold. After replacing plugs and coils with no luck, a mechanic finally checked the throttle body. It was packed with carbon. A 30-minute cleaning solved what weeks of guesswork couldn't. And here's the kicker. Modern cars don't even use a cable for the gas pedal anymore. It's all electronic. If that pedal sensor fails, your ECU might misread your input. And yes, that means your car could accelerate without your foot ever touching the pedal. Rare, but dangerous. Even a rough idle, that annoying vibration when sitting at a stop, shouldn't be ignored. It might just be a dirty injector, or it could be your car warning you of something much bigger. Because here's the truth, small jerks today could mean a dead engine tomorrow. Chapter 4. Electrical and electronic system failures. It usually starts small, maybe your radio cuts out, then your AC stops working. Next thing you know, your dashboard flickers or goes completely dark. Coincidence? Not at all. Modern vehicles are a web of electronics. What looks like a minor annoyance is often the first sign of a much bigger failure. When your dashboard starts flickering, it's not just distracting, it's a warning. The cause could be something as simple as a loose ground wire, a weak battery, or as serious as a failing control module. Ignore it, and you could lose every gauge on your dash. No speedometer, no warning lights, no temperature reading. And let's talk sensors. Your car relies on dozens of them. The MAP sensor, the oxygen sensor, the crankshaft position sensor, the camshaft sensor. These aren't optional. If one fails, your engine may not even start, or it might stall randomly while driving. Take the crankshaft position sensor, for example. When it dies, your car can shut off in the middle of the road. No warning, no mercy. A bad MAP sensor, that throws off the air-fuel ratio and kills your fuel economy. A lazy oxygen sensor, that can burn out your catalytic converter, which could set you back $1,200 or more. Real-world case, a Peugeot owner, yes, not common in the US, but the problem applies to many cars, had a crankshaft sensor that failed only when the engine was hot. The car would shut down while driving, but at the shop, it started right up, leaving mechanics clueless. That's the danger of intermittent failures. They lull you into thinking the problem's gone, until it comes back at the worst time. And here's the thing. Sometimes it's not even the fancy electronics. A single bad relay can keep your car from starting. A blown fuse can kill your ACA corroded connector, can send your entire dashboard into chaos. What feels like a mystery is often solved by checking the basics first. The bottom line? Electrical issues are sneaky. Today, your car works fine. Tomorrow it doesn't even crank. Which is why those first little signs, a flickering light, a glitchy radio, a random stall, should never be ignored. Because in modern cars, electronics are amazing when they work, but ruthless when they don't. Chapter 5. Excessive fuel consumption and power loss. Your car just doesn't feel the same. You're filling up more often, yet getting less out of every tank. And when you hit the gas, it feels sluggish. Sound familiar? Take an older Toyota Camry from the 90s. Those cars are known to be reliable, but if the fuel injectors aren't calibrated, the oxygen sensors are worn, or there's a vacuum leak, suddenly that bulletproof Camry is drinking gas like a V8 dot. Age and poor maintenance always come back to bite. But excessive fuel consumption isn't just an old car problem. Even modern trucks like the Chevy Silverado or Ford F-150 can lose power after a bad repair. Maybe a shop replaced the EGR valve but didn't program it correctly, or they swapped out a turbo without recalibrating the ECU. The result? Less power, more fuel burned, and a frustrated driver. And then there's that dreaded engine knock. That sharp metallic tapping that won't go away, even after replacing valves. Often, it's not the top end at all. It could be worn-out connecting rods, loose pistons, or a damaged camshaft. Sometimes, using the wrong oil makes it worse. Real example. An F-150 owner complained of poor acceleration and worse gas mileage after a turbo replacement. Turns out, the shop didn't do the proper electronic adaptation. The truck was running out of spec, wasting fuel, and underperforming. One missed step at the shop turned into weeks of frustration. Another case, a Chevy Malibu driver heard constant knocking even after valve work. The real issue? Failing rods. By the time it was diagnosed, the engine was toast. And don't overlook the basics. Something as simple as a clogged air filter, a dirty fuel filter, or an overdue oil change can rob your car of power and efficiency. They're cheap parts, but ignoring them can cost you big. Losing power is one of the most frustrating problems because you won't always see a warning light. No codes, no check engine. Just a gut feeling that your car doesn't have the same punch it used to. That's why diagnosing power loss takes more than a simple scanner. You need compression tests, exhaust checks, turbo inspections, and real-world performance tests. Because here's the truth. It's not always that your car is broken. Many times, it's just poorly tuned. And a poorly tuned engine will burn more gas, make less power, and wear out faster. So if your car isn't driving like it used to, don't ignore it. What feels like a small loss of power today could mean losing your car's reliability tomorrow. Chapter 6. Critical cases that put your life at risk. Some car problems are just annoying, but others, they can put your life on the line, and knowing the difference could literally save you. Imagine this, you're cruising down the freeway at 65 miles an hour, and suddenly your car shuts off. No power steering, no power brakes, just silence. This has actually happened to Ford Windstar and early 2000s Honda CR-V owners, especially with the AC running. Why? Sometimes it's an overloaded electrical system, a failing crankshaft sensor, or even a bad ground connection. But the scariest part? It happens with no warning. Another case? A Renault Aroche in South America had its dashboard needles going crazy while the car refused to start. In US cars, similar chaos happens when the CAN bus system fails. It's not your battery or a fuse, it's the computers in your car losing communication. And when that happens, you're not driving anywhere. And then there's the Chevy Malibu and other GM cars that sometimes light up the sport or transmission mode indicators for no reason. Drivers shrug it off, but it can mean your transmission is stuck in an unsafe mode, pushing your engine too hard, or refusing to shift properly. Ignore it and you're looking at a major repair. Even scarier, some vehicles suddenly drop into limp mode on the highway, slashing power and forcing you to crawl at 20 miles per hour. Sure, it's meant to protect the engine, but on the interstate, crawling that slow is a danger all by itself. Real-world story. A Ford Windstar driver recalled losing all power in a curve on the freeway. With no steering assist and no brakes, he barely managed to coast to the shoulder. The cause? A failing alternator that left the car completely drained of power. All of these critical cases share one thing in common. They strike out of nowhere. No patterns, no mercy. But here's the truth. Modern cars almost never fail without dropping little hints first. A flickering warning light, a strange vibration, a noise you haven't heard before. The key is paying attention, because at 65 miles an hour, when your car decides to shut down, it's not just your engine at risk, it's your life. If you've made it this far, you already know something most drivers don't. Cars rarely fail out of nowhere. They always warn us. Sometimes with a light, sometimes with a sound, sometimes with a gut feeling you can't explain. But deep down, you know it isn't normal. The truth is, today's cars are smarter than ever. They can tell you exactly what's wrong before it becomes a disaster. The real problem? Too many drivers ignore the signs. And when you do, that simple warning can turn into a $1,000 repair. Or worse, a life-threatening breakdown. Remember this, a dashboard light is a cry for help. A strange noise is a whisper of warning. A new vibration is your car's way of telling you something's wrong. Don't ignore them. Every small symptom is a chance to stop a big problem before it happens. If your car could talk, it would say, "Take care of me today, so you don't lose me tomorrow." And this isn't just about saving money. It's about your safety, your family's safety, and peace of mind every time you hit the road. Think about it. How many times have you put off that weird sound, that flashing light, that inspection you knew was overdue? Every time you do, you're rolling the dice. And sometimes, the cost is more than just money. So if this video helped you understand your car a little better, smash that like button, share it with a friend who drives. And don't forget to subscribe for more tips that could save your wallet. And maybe even your life.